This is Pace the Nation.
When you climb up that hill, well, eventually you'll come down. If the wind's at your back, you never wear a frown. You're waiting on that second wind to begin to kick in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Pace the Nation, broadcasting back here at Studio 1A in downtown Arlington, Virginia. We are back on a cold, snowy afternoon in the heart of all things. Of course, that's Clarendon. I'm in Clarendon. I'm your host, Chris Farley, and back again, also in Arlington, but on the other side in West Arlington, my co-host wife, it's Julie Culley. Julie, what's up?
Hey, I know. I'm still here, West Arlington. Can you believe it?
You
I haven't
still-
gravitated back towards the center of the universe
Soon.
quite yet.
Soon. Yeah, but we hear you loud and clear. So great to be back. And
Chris, I know it's hard to believe, but they
Yeah.
do have high-speed internet in West Arlington.
I know, believe it or not.
So I
know.
am able to have clear articulation today.
Well, sometimes with these snowstorms, you never know, because
Well,
it
that
has
is true.
been touch and go here in Arlington with the snow.
Yeah.
But we're up and running. Roads are clear. Pace the
Mhm.
Nation is back. All is right in the world. So thrilled to be back again for another episode. So Julie, it's our first episode of the new year.
Okay.
So our New Year's resolution is to let's get this thing going again. And I know people who are tuning in are longtime listeners of the show, or viewers now, new viewers of the show, were like, wait a second, what the heck was that music? What is that?
Yeah.
Is this
We're
the
throwing
same
everybody off.
show? Is this the same show I've known and love over the years? In fact, it is. But that's a new theme music as we reboot. We're going to have a new logo, a new theme music. Some, as I mentioned, maybe on the last show, we've got some new behind the scenes editing. Our guy Chris from Rep the District is helping us out. So 2022, it's a new Pace the Nation. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that one of your New Year's resolutions needs to be to stop making commitments about the show.
So do not overpromise. and
No
underdeliver.
overpromising. So
Okay.
probably the last 10 episodes, which basically is the last year,
Yeah.
there's been a recommitment every
Yep.
single time. Chris Farley
Yep.
gets on the mic and he's like, guys, we're back. We're doing it every 2 weeks. We've got this. We've got great content. And then we go silent for like 6 weeks.
Yep.
So your New Year's resolution, and I think the fans will appreciate this,
Mm-hmm.
is to chill out, commit, and just show up and get the job done.
All right. It sounds like you're committed as well. So
I'm
we
committed.
are in together. Yeah, it's funny. My brother, who I saw over the holiday, he said, I really enjoyed your last show where Julie interviewed you. But I've been waiting for this promise to come to fruition of your every 2 week show. And I
Yep.
keep refreshing. And so I know that's a lot of others' experience as well. But we're back and better than ever. We are back, and wanted to give props to my guy Chris at Rep the District, who's helping us out, and Richmond John with that music, and he's going to do some stuff with us because he's got a really cool vibe for the intro, and he'll do some musical interludes.
Great,
For us,
great reference. Great term.
as well. Yeah. So, but all right. So we've got that out of the way. I've overpromised. I will deliver on that.
Yeah.
Really have an exciting show today. We're going to have some fun with our guests, but to also talk about a real serious topic, the Marshall fires that are happening or have happened in Boulder, Colorado, and that surrounding area. Professional runner for Saucony, Laura Thweatt, will be joining us today. She was the fifth place finisher in the Atlanta Olympic trials, narrowly missing the Olympic team by 16 seconds. So we'll talk to her a little bit about that and what she's doing. She also ran the New York City Marathon.
Oh, I
Now,
know someone who ran the New York City
yeah,
Marathon.
she probably didn't
Did
talk
she
about it
have
as
an
much.
entourage
No,
and a video made of her the way that
probably not,
Chris
but
Farley did? We'll
she
have to
ran,
ask her.
yeah, she
She
ran
she
30
probably
minutes
had a high
faster than
level
me.
yeah, she probably had a high level performance and did it quietly.
Yeah,
Didn't
she was eighth place and just did it
yeah.
quietly. Yeah, but she ran the New York City Marathon, so we could compare notes there.
Okay.
But we'll talk a little bit about her running, but a lot about all the things that are happening in Colorado and all the things that Laura is doing to actually help out our community. So awesome stuff coming from Laura Thweatt. So without further ado, Julie, excited to be joined next on Pace the Nation by Saucony pro runner Laura Thweatt. She joins us here on Pace the Nation, coming up right now.
Pace the Nation is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
All right, welcome back to the program. And now, Julie, we are excited to be joined over the StreamYard stream by Laura Thweatt, professional
Hello.
runner for Saucony. How you doing, Laura? Good to see you.
I'm good, guys. How are you? I'm excited to be on the show.
Well, we are doing fantastic. Great to have you. I know short notice in typical Pace the Nation fashion. Julie probably texted you this morning, and you're
Wake up.
you're on. But really excited to talk to you about your running and all that's happening and all that you're doing. But before I get to that, I was kind of perusing your Instagram, and it is LTHWEATT. Give her a follow on Instagram. Looks like you've been traveling after the New York City Marathon. We mentioned you did the New York City Marathon. Look like warm climate as we sit here in freezing cold, icy weather here in Arlington, Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C. Where did you go that was so nice and warm?
Yeah, well, to make you guys feel better, it is a horribly miserable day here. It is
Okay,
like
good.
freezing rain, which is
Perfect.
not typical for Colorado. So really enjoying that. So yes, I would like to go back and live my dream, which I went to Hawaii. I went to Maui
Nice.
like a couple weeks after the New Marathon, and I went with fellow marathoners Molly Seidel and Emma Bates.
Yes.
So we had an amazing trip. I thrived down there. I do great in tropical climates. Put me on a beach. We went snorkeling. We went to a luau. We hiked a volcano.
Oh my God.
We did some running. It was great. It was an amazing trip, and we decompressed from a big year. All of us ran fall marathons. Molly obviously had that amazing Olympic performance as well. So lots of things to celebrate. Emma crushed Chicago. I survived New York. And so there was a lot to celebrate. So we had a great trip. And I wish I was there right now.
Our family has gone to Hawaii around this time. Not this year, but the previous 2 years, or maybe it was pre-COVID. Julie, remind me what
Yeah,
years.
not even been since 2019.
Isn't it
Yeah.
an amazing time to go in December to Hawaii? I mean,
Oh,
is there
it
not
was
an amazing time to go to Hawaii?
I was gonna say I don't know when a amazing time would not be, but it was beautiful. Perfect weather. We got really lucky because there was really big storms right before we left and then immediately after we left. So we had this amazing 5-day window of just great weather. So yeah, it was a blast. So much fun. So I might make that I think we want to
An
do a
annual.
traditional Hawaii trip. Yeah. Every
So-
fall, just cap the
so-
year with Hawaii.
For the listeners, we're talking about 3 of the best American marathoners together. Molly Seidel, who was the bronze medalist in the Olympics. Emma Bates just had an amazing marathon. Which one did she do?
She did Chicago.
Chicago.
Second, 2:24. Pretty incredible stuff right there.
And then Laura, who we're going to talk about all your accolades and all the great things that you've done. So pretty cool, pretty fast group there in Hawaii. Did anybody recognize you guys when you were there?
And by
You're kind of
recognize,
celebrities.
yeah, I mean, they definitely recognized Molly and I'm sure
Mhm.
Emma. And then they're like, oh, that was probably like they were with a friend. It was so nice to see them. No, it was actually really funny because Molly and Emma obviously have Strava. So
Yeah.
I think we were running basically the same route every day from our Airbnb. And so, like, the fourth day, a guy came out and was like, oh, I noticed you guys were here. I saw your Strava. Just wanted to come
Stalking
out
you.
and, like, yeah, cheer you guys on. And then we were doing a long run, like, out on this highway, like 25, 30 minutes from where we were staying. And after I stopped, Molly and Emma kept going, and apparently a woman on a bike like blew by them, and she was like, "Oh my God, congratulations, Molly!" Like,
Wow.
she's famous everywhere. I mean, rightfully so. She's just had an
Yeah.
amazing couple of years. But yeah, it was funny. We got a couple fans out on the
Yes.
island, so
Fantastic.
that was pretty cool.
That
Yeah,
was cool.
It makes you think like Strava is such an
know.
incredible tool, but
Right.
also a little creepy.
It was
Yeah.
a little creepy. Like,
Slightly.
in that moment, I was like, "Oh, yikes!" Like, people, yeah, they can see where you are. They can follow your route. So I don't have one. I'm old fashioned. I am
Yeah,
not
me too.
a
Me too.
techie. I'm not really up to
Mhm.
date with what everyone's doing and like all these things. I still write all my stuff in just like a journal. And
Mhm.
that's it.
Love
So
it.
no one knows where I am. I just
That's cool.
pop up wherever. So
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to talk about the fires, but let's talk about your running. Um, Amazing job in New York. You said it was a bit of a struggle, but you were 8th place there. I'd say you have to be happy with that finish in the major marathon, correct?
yeah, no, I was happy with my race at New York. I ran my second fastest marathon time. And I ran New York as my debut back in 2015 and I beat that time by like a minute and a half. And then yeah, like you said, to be top 10 at a world major, especially a major like New York with the field that
Mhm.
they always are able to put together, one of the deepest fields in the history of that race. So yeah, I all in all, it was a great day. I know I'm capable of more. I fell
Mhm.
short of a few of the goals I had initially gone in having set for myself. But I ran hard. I literally left everything
Hmm.
out on that course. I joke, but seriously, part of my soul is like still out there. Like, I don't think it's like fully come back to my body yet. So yeah, I mean, when you do that, you can't be too happy with the day because there's just, I left it all out there. There was nothing left when I crossed that finish line. So I battled hard.
That's awesome. And there is nothing like New York. So congratulations
No.
there.
Yeah,
Um,
you were out there
I
apparently. Is
was,
that
I
what
was,
I'm
I was
hearing?
out there. I was out there. I ran 2:58, so I was about 30 minutes, a
Woo!
little over
Hey,
30
sub
minutes
3.
behind you. Yeah, but sub
Yeah.
3.
Chris has a
Um,
23, is it 23
correct.
years?
23
23-year
years.
streak
Oh
of
my God.
running under 3 hours for a
Yeah,
marathon.
yeah. My
So
Look
first,
at you.
my
he's
first was
45
'99
now.
too.
He's getting up there. So he's
My
holding on
first,
strong. We
I
had a
am.
baby over the summer, so
Yes,
training was
congratulations, you
really
guys.
thank you.
More about me, please. More
No,
about
we
me.
don't
Yeah,
need to talk
yeah.
about you. The
Yeah.
fans have
So,
heard enough. We had an
so,
entire interview just on Chris's marathon. So
so
Perfect.
Laura, Julie and I were in Atlanta, and I just want to say you inspiring effort out there, and we're talking about, of course, the 2020 Olympic trials. You're one of the names that everybody thought could make the team, and you led the race. How long did you lead the race? And tell us a little about that marathon trials in your experience.
Yeah, I think I led like over 12 miles of
Yeah,
that race, so like about halfway. A lot of people questioned that choice, as did I later on. But honestly, that was the only way for me to run it. That was the only way for me to really put it all out there and to give myself every opportunity and chance to make that team. I love to run from the front. I love to be aggressive. That was a course made for me. I'm a strength runner. I love hills. The conditions were also pretty brutal. That wind
yeah,
was ghastly. So,
bad.
all in all, it was just, I felt like it was my day and my course to go out there and do what I love to do and to do it the way that I love to do it. It was an incredibly deep field, probably one of the deepest ever at an Olympic marathon trials. So again, I just felt like I had to run that aggressive in order to make that team against so many incredible women. Like, that was the only way for me to do it.
But
So
how disappointing? I mean, so you were 5th place, 16 seconds from third. Like, how disappointing is that?
Yeah, no, it was heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking crossing that line, knowing that you fell short. And anyone, as Julie knows, at an Olympic trials, if you're not top three, you're heartbroken, regardless of what the race was. But it was also really bittersweet because that was my kind of return to the marathon. I'd run London in 2017, PR'd, had a horrible pelvic injury that took me out for almost a year. Got myself to Chicago in 2019 and got the qualifier. So Atlanta was really like my first marathon, like back on the scene, where I really proved to myself and I think everyone else that I still have what it takes to be one of the best. And so I was really proud of my effort. I was proud of the way that I ran that race. I was proud that I put everything out on the line. That's where you want to do it. You want to put
Yeah.
everything out there at the Olympic trials. And so I did that and I fell short. So it was heartbreaking, but I was also really proud of that race. And I felt like that was my like reintroduction back to the marathon. So it was a very bittersweet moment crossing that finish line for sure.
Yeah, Chris is going to focus on the end result for the drama here, but I just love hearing from your voice. Like you're going to run your race, right?
Yeah.
Like if you go out there and you run someone else's race, like you cross that finish line no matter where you finish, and you say, "Man, I didn't stay true to myself." And if that's
Yeah.
the type of runner you are, I mean, the confidence you have to stand on the starting line that day and be like, this is my course. This plays to my strengths. I'm going for it. It was the deepest field we've ever had by
It's
far.
crazy.
Every time we assemble a field at a major or a trials, it's the deepest field we've ever had because American distance running just keeps going off the charts. We saw that this past weekend.
Oh, it's incredible what we're
Yeah.
seeing right now. It's so cool to be a part of it. But yeah, to be in it, you really have to, not be afraid to throw yourself into the
Right.
race and to have that confidence, like you were saying. So if you can do that, regardless of the result, I think that's always something to be proud of.
So
All right.
yeah, go, Chris.
All right. Well, I just want one question before we move on from this. You told the story on Allie on the Runs podcast, sitting in drug testing. Tell us about that, and tell our audience, why would you be drug tested if you're fifth? Like, what's that process, and who are you there with? Tell us about it.
Oh man, Des is gonna hate me. So yeah, so it's funny. They drug test top 5 at the trials, or they did at least in Atlanta. And it is heartbreaking because you're in there with the top 3 who had incredible days, all so deserving to be on that team. You're happy for them. They're your friends, your fellow competitors. But 4th and 5th are in there and you're just heartbroken because you're like, well, it wasn't my day and I missed the team. And so they're in there, so excited, celebrating, and then you're just kind of sitting there just like, I'm horribly sad and heartbroken. Like it's such a weird like dynamic in there. But I was sitting on the ground next to Des, and we were both obviously pretty quiet and pretty, I think heartbroken with the result of the day as far as where we ended up. She was 4th. She outkicked me with like 800 to go. She like pulled up next to me. I thought I had killed her off, but you never kill off Des. That's what I learned. She's never dead. So she pulled up next to me with 800 to go and then just like, blew my doors off. So she was 4th, I was 5th. So we're sitting there and she, like Des is one of my idols. Like she's one of my heroes of the sport. I've looked up to her for years. And so I'm pretty nervous sitting next to her and I want to say something to her, but I also am like really intimidated. So she luckily turns to me and says, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Be cool, Laura, like be cool," like play it off. So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she was like, "Why did you lead so much?" And she was like, "It was so windy. Like, it's a tough course. Like, do you think maybe that's like, why you just missed out on the top 3 spots? Like you did so much leading basically." And so I had to like defend my race to Des. So I told her exactly what I told you guys. And then she just said, "Okay." And like, that's all she said. So then I was sitting there in silence for like another like half hour, just like, oh my God, Des thinks I'm like a loser. Like, she's just like, "Dude, why'd you lead so much?" Like, I'm like,
Okay. All right. So Julie, all right. Let's pull back the curtain, Julie. You just texted Des.
I texted Des
So-
right before you
No,
came on
she-
the
That's
show.
for you. Okay. So what
And
did she say?
I was like, "You got to explain this conversation." She starts laughing and she's like, Honestly, I was just generally just curious, like, why she led for the first, like, 15 miles of the
That's
race.
really
She's like,
funny.
"No big deal." I just was curious.
That's really
Well, and it
funny.
was funny because I obviously told this story on Alley on the
Got it.
Run,
Yep.
and then I told it to David Monty, who like wrote this article before New York. And so it was everywhere, and I felt horrible because I feel like people were like giving Des so much shit for just like saying okay. And so then I saw her on the start line of New York because she was going to be on the lead women's truck, and I was like, man, I'm so sorry. And she just started laughing, and she was like, I just said okay. She's like, I'm introverted, like I don't always have a lot to say. And she's like, it made it sound like I was like a jerk,
See,
just
and
like okay.
here's the thing. Like both you guys just didn't make the team. Both you guys probably you can't pee because you just ran. So you're in there for I don't know how long
Forever.
you're in
I
there.
was in
for,
there
but-
for hours. It was like
Hours,
dark when
right?
I came out. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
God.
We can move on. We wanted to talk to you about the Marshall Fires.
It's
but
so funny.
I interrupted you, Julie. If there was something else you wanted to add on there.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So we
Laura,
brought
we
you
can
on.
edit out some of these pieces
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
Okay.
if we
Awesome.
just sound
That
awkward
was-
and weird, that's
No,
okay.
no, that was fantastic.
We always come off awkward and weird,
right.
so it's
Yeah,
totally cool.
that's great.
We're in it together.
We're in it together. It's
Yeah,
good.
All right. Well, you are, all right. Well, those were two amazing races. Congratulations on both of them. Super important, but amazing how life kind of what happens in life and what's important may not seem so important. And these Marshall Fires, I mean, did that change your perspective on everything? Tell us about when they hit and then where you were and how you felt about them.
Yeah, it still doesn't feel real, to be honest. It's, it'll be 3 weeks tomorrow. And I think myself, along with so many here, are still processing the reality of what has happened and where our community now sits. I was home. I live in Superior, Colorado, one of the communities that got hit. I just got back from a run on Coal Creek, which is not really there anymore. And I was just sitting on my couch on my phone, and I got this like email alert that said the town of Superior is like on a mandatory evacuation notice. And I was like, what? Like, for what? And I look out my window, and like it's blue sky and it was windy, and I was like, okay. And then I got another alert saying that like Superior residents were being asked to evacuate immediately. And then people started texting me, one of which was my friend and old teammate Maddie Alm. And she was like, hey, like I just saw that Superior is on like an evacuation notice, like there's fires somewhere. She's like, are you okay? Like, are you evacuating? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And I was like, fires? Where are these fires? Like, again, like from where I was, I couldn't see smoke. I couldn't really see anything. So I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, okay. So I went upstairs and packed an overnight bag. Like, again, like you live in suburban Boulder. So, and it's December. So you're not really prepared for any type of evacuation. So I pack an overnight bag, and then like just last minute, like threw in like some documents. And then I got in my car, and Maddie's like, well, why don't you come to my place? Like she lives out in North Boulder. And I was like, all right. So I get in my car, I pull out of my complex onto Rock Creek Parkway, drive up to McCaslin Boulevard, and it is like a completely different scene. They have it, there's police, there's fire trucks, they have it all blocked off. So you can't go down McCaslin to get on 36 to head into Boulder. And you just see smoke, like it's just black over towards Louisville. And I was like, what is happening? At that point, my phone had crashed. Like because I just think like the towers and so many people were trying to figure out what was going on. So I had no service. I didn't know what was happening. So they rerouted us on McCaslin South. I sat on McCaslin for over an hour in my car, in just like gridlock traffic. And as you're sitting there, you can just start to see like the smoke behind you. And like, again, the sky is black and you're just like, I don't know what's happening. But this isn't good. Like something is actually happening. This wasn't a precautionary evacuation. These fires aren't off east somewhere on the plains. Like they're in our community. So that was the scariest moment for me, because at one point I thought I was actually going to have to get out of my car and just like run like,
Wow.
like just like for
Right.
my life, like, because you're not moving and you're just starting to like realize the reality of what's happening. And everyone's kind of in a panic. And so I finally got out of Superior, but it took me 3 hours to get from my door all the way to North Boulder because I had to drive all the way through Denver, around towards Fort Collins, and then like back in Longmont to like North Boulder to
How
Maddie's
long
home.
would that usually take?
It's like 20 minutes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I was in my
Okay.
car for like 3 hours. Again,
Wow.
no idea what was going on.
Right.
I get to Maddie's. Maddie grew up in Louisville. Her parents still live there. So while I was driving to her house, Louisville obviously went onto an emergency, like state of emergency evacuation. So her parents were trying to evacuate. They couldn't get out of Louisville. I get to her place. We turn on the news, and that's when it just like hit. And you just start to see like, oh my God, like places that I go every day, places I was just at, like are burning. Davidson Mesa was burning at that point on the news. Harper Lake, the rec center just down the road, Superior, like Costco and Target. There were reports that those were burning. Old Town Superior was burning. Like it was just happening so quickly. And that was the thing too. This all happened in a matter of like 4 hours. Like everything just went up so incredibly quickly. And so luckily Maddie's parents got out. They came to her apartment to drop off the animals. And we were all just glued to the TV, just watching this horrific event unfold. And so at that point, the fire was like coming towards my condo from like 3 different directions. But it was hard because on the news, it was happening so quickly that the reporting was all over the place. So like they didn't really know what was burning. So they were just throwing kind of like rough areas of where the fire was at. So they kept saying Rock Creek Parkway, which like I live right off of Rock Creek. They said the fire was up by a Vista Hospital and Monarch High School, which is less than a mile from where I live. It was down below Rock Creek coming off the other direction by Safeway, which is like 800 meters, like a half mile from where I live. And so at one point they reported that the apartments but directly behind my condos were burning. So I just assumed if that was the case, that there was just no way my condo was going to make it. So I went to bed Friday night, finally, after like watching like, hours of this. And I was just like, I'm not going to, like, my place is going to be gone. Like, I'm not going to have a place tomorrow along with thousands of people in our community. Like, cause you're just watching structures burn all night long on the television. And so it wasn't until Friday morning, like midday, that I got word from a friend that our condos were still standing. But at that point, Maddie, who was also an assistant coach at Monarch High School with me, we reached out to our head coach, Kent Reeder. And like the first thing we started doing Friday morning was checking in on our kids. Yeah. All of our kids live out here. All of our Monarch families are out here. And so we just wanted to make sure, one, that everyone was safe. And then 2, just started to kind of slowly assess the damage, as far as just, who had homes, who didn't, and then just trying to figure out where to go from there to help our kids. But again, like no one's prepared for that. No one really knows what to do in the aftermath of what this was. It was just all very surreal. But you just instantly want to start helping because it was just horrific devastation. It's horribly sad out here still. It's heartbreaking.
Let me hold on for a second we want to get into what you did with all your athletes at Monarch, as you're a coach over there. But with the caveat that you're not a fire expert, like how did it start and why couldn't they contain it? Why did it, spread so wildly?
Yeah, I think they're still like in the middle of an investigation to try and figure that out. Initially, we were told it was a power line that blew over because I think on Thursday that day, that was the problem. Was Boulder had I think it was the winds were up to 115 miles an hour in Boulder that day. So that's why the fire was spreading and just hopping like randomly, like everywhere. Like it covered a huge area in such a short time because the winds were just so incredibly high that day. So they thought that the winds had blown over a power line. Well, come to find out, when Excel started to like survey kind of the damage, they reported that none of their power lines had actually blown over. And so then it turned out that it was man-made. And it started off of Marshall Road, which kind of like connects Louisville, Superior to South Boulder. And there's homes all along Marshall Road down there. So now they believe it was man-made and that someone or a few people, a group of people were out there burning trash or burning something that day. And again, with how dry it had been, Colorado hadn't had a drop of moisture in like weeks, end of December, and it's the driest winter we've ever had. And then with the winds, it just obviously got out of control. And then it just went. So that's what they think happened, but I think it's still under investigation right now.
I read this morning that they are struggling with the investigation because it snowed after the fires, right?
Directly after,
terrible timing. Terrible timing.
We needed the snow 24 hours earlier, and then it came 24 hours later, right after all this happened, and it just made a mess of everything.
Yeah, so they're struggling to investigate correctly because there's just a pile of snow that dumped. But wow, I just cannot. I'm trying to walk through this moment and emotion for you guys as you're figuring this out. So tell us about the families. How long did it take for people to know whether their homes were still standing or not?
I think it it happened quickly for some because some like it wiped out entire subdivisions. It wiped out entire neighborhoods. So a lot of that was being like a lot of that was out on the news. And so a lot of people in those areas just knew that their homes were gone based off the subdivisions that had burned. But a lot of others didn't know right away because their homes were standing, or they had reports that their homes were standing, but their homes were standing in the middle of a burn area. So like some of our kids, their homes are like the only ones on an entire street that are still standing, or it's like their home, two other homes, and then like that's it. So somehow by like a miracle of God, their homes made it, but the damage is catastrophic still. Like, a lot of kids who have homes standing in those burn areas, the damage is so much on the inside that like nothing can really be salvaged. And they obviously can't move back in. Or some people, their homes are okay, but like it's going to be a process to clean everything and to get everything out and then back in. So a lot of families are still displaced, even though they do have homes. And they're trying to start that process of getting back into their homes. But for some people that, that could go all the way to like the summer. So a lot of people, it's kind of a mix. Quite a few lost homes. I believe over 1,000 homes were lost. And then a lot of homes are still standing and have made it. But so many families are displaced because, there's just an extent of damage done to their homes. So thousands of people are trying to figure out their next step right now.
So what happens when people are displaced? Where are people living right now? And was the school damaged?
The school wasn't damaged somehow. Right across the street was the hospital. Right across the street is still standing, but again, really, really, really bad smoke damage. Monarch is fine. They started classes 2 weeks ago. More is just to kind of give the families and kids some normalcy. Give the kids a place to go as parents try and figure out kind of what this next step looks like. A lot of families that we've been delivering things to are living in hotels right now, trying to figure out where they can go. It's such an expensive place to live out here. And now it seems as though costs have just skyrocketed. So a lot of families are trying to navigate that, and there's just no inventory right now either. So a lot of families are moving to Broomfield, Westminster, Lafayette, kind of the surrounding areas of Superior and Louisville, just outside of Boulder County. But I still have quite a few families in hotel rooms who are trying to figure out what things look like. And so that's why Maddie and I, that Friday after the fires, we started a GoFundMe page for our Monarch athletes. Because at that point we knew of 4 who had lost homes. And then I think now we're at 6, where if like some of those families actually have homes standing, but again, the damage is so catastrophic that they can't really move back in. And so the goal was to just try and provide some funds for these families that, could help with temporary housing, food, cars. A lot of families lost cars. So they're having to buy cars on top of trying to figure out where they're going to live. And so we set our goal at like $3,000 because we were like, well, if we can give each family who has literally nothing right now,
Right.
like $500 just to help with something, that's a start. And again, so it was really cool because, in events like this, they're so tragic. They're so heartbreaking. But in that, you see the community just come together, and our running community was no exception. Not only the running community here in Boulder, but just nationally, people stepped up and supported in ways that I just found incredibly overwhelming. And we've raised almost $30,000 for our
So
family.
is that GoFundMe still up? Where can we contribute? to it?
I don't believe it's up anymore. I believe Maddie told me last week they just finally released the funds to her.
Wow.
So next week, she's actually on vacation right now.
Right.
But when she gets back, she and our head coach Kent Reeder are going to sit down and divide that between
That's
our
amazing.
families who have lost everything.
So you were started for you wanted $500 per family.
Yeah, we started with the goal of 3,000.
Unbelievable.
And we've raised almost 30,000.
10
So
times
that
that.
was just overwhelming to
That's
me.
awesome.
Because that's, divided among our families, that's a substantial amount of money to help them again with rent, car
Yep.
payments, groceries, clothing, which was also overwhelming. Maddie and I also started a clothing drive for a lot of our kids and our families who, again, had lost everything or couldn't get back into homes to get anything. And that was overwhelming. The community stepped up and just donated bags upon bags upon bags of clothing. People went out to Target and bought brand new clothes and like deodorant and, shampoo and all of the brushes. And, they did that for our families. The shoe company stepped in enormously. Brooks stepped in, Hoka stepped in, Saucony stepped in, Nike stepped in, Wiesel stepped in,
Wow.
New Balance stepped in. All of these big companies send us brand new shoes, boxes of brand new apparel. And so we've been able to build these really big like bins just full of clothing and shoes and all these other necessities that families need. We had about 12 or 15 families reach out to Maddie and I asking if they could get some assistance. And so we've been able to build about that many boxes and are just finishing delivering those this week as people kind of get settled and kind of figure out what this next step looks like. But yeah, it's just, again, it's heartbreaking. And it's just been really sad and emotional. But at the same time, you're just seeing so many people come together to support our community, their community. And it's just been incredible.
It is incredible. And so you are from Colorado. You went to the University of Colorado Boulder. So you have been part of this community, this running community there forever.
Yes.
What is it about this community, this running community that rallies together so effectively?
Yeah, I just think that's one of the things that makes our sport so truly incredible is the support and the camaraderie that you see amongst athletes and amongst competitors. And I just think the community as a whole, like, running's really hard. It's a really, really hard event, no matter what level you're doing it at, no matter how old you are, no matter what group or coach you're with, like, it's really hard. And so I think that fosters a ton of respect for each other. And so in times of need, when those in our community are suffering, people are so quick to step in and to offer any type of support and help that they can. And that's the only way you get through things like this, is coming together, supporting each other, being kind to one another, loving each other, lifting one another. Like, it's the only way we're going to get through this. I mean, it's going to be years before a community ever resembles what it did. And, families will be displaced for years, months. Like, that's what's also so hard about this is it's just going to take so long for us to rebuild, but the community is very resilient here. And so I think we will rebuild and we will overcome this. But it's with the help of so many that have stepped in to do that and to make sure that that can happen. So that's just been an incredible thing to see and to be a part of. But again, I'm just so incredibly grateful to our running community. Just so many people have reached out and stepped up in ways that like I just never would have imagined.
So for you, Laura Thweatt, like you are coming off injury, you're on fire. You run a great Olympic trials, you run a great New York, and then this happens. I started the conversation kind of with perspective. Does that change your perspective? Has it changed how you've been able to run professionally? Is it, help motivation, hurt motivation? Where are you personally?
I think initially it hurt motivation because the week after the fires, seeing what people were going through, seeing some of my high school kids having just lost everything, um, it was so heartbreaking that in the grand scheme of things, running seemed so like just unnecessary. Like I was just
Mhm.
like, why would I prioritize my training right now? Like that's so like why would I do that? Like it just my perspective changed as far as like there are so many people whose lives have just been literally burned to the ground, and they're trying to figure out how to start over. I
Mhm.
can't even begin to imagine what that would be like having been one of the lucky ones who still has a home here.
Yeah.
And so it felt really weird to just like go about normal life because nothing is normal out here. Like nothing is normal. So running at that point just felt like it just I didn't want to prioritize my training. It just seemed so silly. But now being a little bit more removed from it and a coach that I'm working with now had a really great perspective and was just like, like your running is essentially what helps give you this platform
Mhm.
to help the people that you're wanting to help. And he was like, you're a high school coach. Your girls look up to you. They are inspired by what you do when you're out on the roads, when you're out on the track. Like, use that, like, use your running
Yeah.
to help your community
You
and to
probably
help.
don't raise
Yeah.
$30,000 if you aren't who you are. You probably don't,
Yeah.
you know?
And so that was his point, was just like
Yeah.
you can use your running in a whole different light
Mhm.
moving forward, and your running can help your community heal, and it can help your community rebuild, and it can just help your kids as they try and kind of get back to some type of normalcy themselves. Seeing you continue to do that and to overcome can essentially help others to do the same.
Yeah.
So looking at it that way, it's kind of given me a new light and a new perspective on my own running. And that's made it a little bit easier for me to kind of dive back in and do what I love. Like I love running. Like I love running. I love what I train for. I
Mhm.
love that I get to do this as a job. I feel so incredibly lucky every single day. But it's definitely been hard the last couple weeks. Again, when you look around on a daily basis and you just see this horrific devastation that has befallen your community, it does kind of change your perspective in that moment on what's important.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you are giving yourself some time to grieve as well because you've had to step in, as someone whose home survived and be the strength for so many people, right? And I'm sure this is like a full-time job for you right now.
Yeah.
The way that you were responding to emails when we are reaching out and saying, "Hey, do you guys need anything?" And like 20 within like 30 minutes, there's like, "These are the sizes we need. This is the," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
She's on
Laura's
it.
like all over it." I know. I mean, this is a full-time job for you right now, which is beautiful, right? In your
Mhm.
ability to step up and provide strength for the people that you care so much about, but it takes a toll on you too. So we're thinking of you and we're pushing you from behind. So keep
Yeah.
keep it up. These
And I
these
and
these kids need
I
you.
I am a huge Laura Thweatt fan, and maybe I'm new on the bandwagon,
You're new in the fan club.
new on the
I
fan
love it.
club.
I'm
I'm
You
gonna
can join
honored.
all
on
right.
you can join on my
So
my my
you
my
can follow
shoulders.
give her a follow on Twitter. It's Thweatt1, and then Instagram it's Thweatt. And Laura, so before we let you go here, you are back running. We're super excited to see what you've got next. You were with the Boss Hard group. You've moved on. Who's coaching you?
The million-dollar question. Yeah, I am actually working with a new coach. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really great fit. I haven't made that public yet, and as much as I love you guys,
Uh, I thought I thought
This is
she'd
not
make the
the
big
spot,
announcement.
Chris.
Okay.
You just maybe if you hadn't just jumped on the bandwagon,
Right,
Chris.
right. If I'd been a long time,
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that's what hurt
It's a
you.
little too early, Chris.
So close though.
Yes.
I mean, I coached myself all summer and fall leading into New York.
Okay.
That was an amazing experience. It showed me that I can do hard things. I'm more capable than I think I am, and I really do know what I want and what I need to be successful moving forward. So
Right.
I'm grateful for that kind of interim period. But at the start of the new year, I was lucky enough to make something work that I've really wanted. I wanted to work with this person for quite a while.
Awesome.
So I'm excited. New year. So
New
exciting
year, new
things lie
you.
ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
That's great.
exactly.
And do you have a race? You and your coach have a race that you're targeting now? Can you tell us
I'm
that?
targeting the New York half. I
York
want to
half.
go back to New
Nice.
York,
Cool.
open up the new year there. It's one of my favorite cities to race in. Never done that half, so it's been on my
Yeah.
bucket list for years. Seems like a good year to knock her off.
Yeah.
And then probably get back on the track and try and sharpen up a little bit. Because the marathon, Kira, she's changing the game,
know,
baby. Oh,
totally.
I got to get faster.
Absolutely.
I love
That's
it.
crazy. All right. Well, Laura, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. We look forward to following your success, and congratulations on all you've done for your community. Amazing. Over $30,000 raised for some needy families there. And glad you're doing okay.
Thank you.
It's really, really scary. And so it's good to see that you're actually doing okay.
Yes, I am okay.
so-
And so trucking along one
Good.
day at a time.
that's
So
great.
yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome. All right. That's Laura Thweatt. She joined us on Pace the Nation. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back after this.
Pace the Nation is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
All right, welcome back to the program. And thanks again to Laura Thweatt for joining us on today's program. I am a new fan on the bandwagon.
Congratulations.
I should have been a fan. I mean, we saw her in Atlanta, and of course, you heard her name, and she ran, she ran the London Marathon in 2017. She ran 2:25. So obviously, she was in the conversation to be on the Olympic team. And but yeah, this guy, new fan.
Well, Laura's been a steady force on the scene for a long time, and we've seen incredible performances out of her. I'm really excited to hear her energy about this next chapter, because she's reaching that place where she's got enough under her belt. I love that she's taking some time to get back on the track and get some turnover going. I think we could see some really big performances from her in the next few years. And certainly the way American women's distance running is going right now, I mean, the game is changing and the bar has been raised and everyone has been put on notice.
So I wanted to, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to touch on that before we get out of here. As we broadcast here, as we record here on January 19th, this past weekend was the Houston half marathon and marathon. And we saw 2 women's American records set. Unbelievable. By not only, amazing women distance runners, but 37, 38-year-olds. I mean, I'm not saying you're, going to get back at it, Julie, but you're not that much older than them.
I've crested. I've been in the 40s now.
Yeah, that's
40
true.
next to my name.
Yeah. And you have to say, because you have a Wikipedia page. I feel like when you have a Wikipedia page, you actually have to be truthful about your name, right? Because you've got that blue check mark on your Twitter. You're like legit.
Why are we talking about me?
Because we usually talk about me. But anyways, all right. So that was the side. Amazing performances. Kira D'Amato set the American record in the marathon. And that was referenced. You guys referenced her during the interview there with Laura. What did she run? Some incredible time.
2:19:12 to break Dina Castor's record. I mean, that is just obscene.
Yep. It really is obscene.
She's averaging, I think, 520 per mile for 26.2 miles. She did it in Houston this past weekend, crossed the finish line. Her kids are there. just an incredible story. And she's local for
Yep.
us in this Pace the Nation podcast, broadcasting from the center of the universe. I don't know if
Correct.
she knows that Arlington is the center of the universe. She's a Richmond, Virginia resident,
She's
but
resident now. She went to Upton High School, Northern Virginia.
yeah, Northern
Went to
Virginia up
AU.
here. Yep,
Yep.
went to American University, is now the American record holder in the
Were
women's
you a
marathon.
coach at American when she was there?
No, we just missed each other.
Okay, gotcha.
She's, I think, is she 2 years younger than me? Is she 38 or is she 37?
She's 37. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so she graduated right before I came
You
to
started
the
as a
DC
coach.
area. Yeah.
Got it. Well, that was an amazing performance. We've had her on Pace the Nation before, of course. She goes famously for root beer floats after good performances. So she probably had a number of those this weekend. And then your friend Sarah Hall, who we actually haven't had on Pace the Nation, unbelievable performance for that 38-year-old Sarah Hall, setting the American record in the half marathon on the same day. What was her time?
Sarah ran 67:15. She took
Wow.
that American record from Molly Huddle, who has been on the show.
Yes, correct. Yep.
And the fact that this happened on the same day within minutes
I
of each
know.
other,
Yep.
it's just mind-blowing. It means
Yeah.
Sarah breaks the American record. Ryan is there at the finish line. Ryan owns the American record in the half marathon. This is the family of the half marathon.
Yep.
Ryan did it 15 years prior.
I know.
And so to be able to share that together as a family and think about the two of them, I mean, they're the same age. So
Yeah.
him doing it so early in his career, her doing it so late in her career, and building an entire family in between is just, I mean, it's just beyond words.
It's just crazy, like what is happening with people who are athletes who are in their late 30s, and everybody. It's the football playoff time now. Everybody's talking about Tom Brady, and he's 44 years old, and maybe the MVP of the league. Probably won't win MVP, but man, it's just this. There's no excuse. Getting older is not an excuse anymore. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is when your body
and
breaks down like
well,
mine.
when your body breaks down,
But I
yes.
think people don't acknowledge, and maybe we're starting to much more now, that perspective, experience. You are getting older, it's getting harder, your body's recovering slower.
Yep.
The game changes in terms of what you're capable of doing, but experience and perspective is everything in
Yep.
sport.
Yep. Amazing performances out there, and the record that Dina had was for, and I'll just say that she had it for a long time. Kira may have it for a long time, but I'm not sure. There
Yeah.
might be somebody waiting in the wings who runs, sub 219.
Yeah.
Who's an American runner.
Yeah. There's a
it's
lot
pretty
of there's a
incredible.
lot of individuals who are capable of running quite a bit faster. I mean, I obviously am very fixated on women's American women's running, but what she did was absolutely phenomenal, Kira.
Mhm.
But there is some incredible talent in the marathon right now, and
Yep.
again, I think everyone's been put on notice, and it's one of those moments where that marathon record may stand for a long time, but I think Kira has given the community some confidence to start to push the threshold even further, because I think Dina's record was just so out of reach. I mean, Sarah
Right.
Hall went after that record last year, and it wasn't her day, but her training was showing her that she was
She
capable
could
of
do
that.
it.
Kira's training was showing her that she was capable of it, and hit it on that day. And we all know, if you've run a marathon, which I have not, but that a lot has to go right in order for
Yep.
you to have your day. We heard from Laura today, everything was pointing in the right direction for her to have a massive breakthrough in New York. And she said she's still trying to collect her soul from
Right.
that course. And so you have all these indicators, and we have women that are training at a very high level that are seeing those indicators. Kira had the wind at her back, not literally, but she
Yep.
she had her day. And I think we're going to see some women going for it a little bit more frequently now. So really
Yep.
exciting time.
Yeah, it's really competitive out there. I wanted to end on this though, something that's competitive in our household as I
Oh, Lord.
transition.
Okay.
Wordle.
Oh,
Wordle is like taking over the world, at least for the people who I follow on social media.
Okay.
I know our producer Chris, he's doing Wordles. I got it yesterday. I got it today. It is like the first thing I think of when I wake up
Wow.
is Wordle.
There's a lot of things that come to mind as priorities
Well,
above
it's like
Wordle.
the game is
Do
genius.
I make your life so easy that the first thing that you think about in any given day
The
is
game
Wordle?
is genius. New word every single day.
Okay.
So people are like waiting for everybody has the same word and you're trying to get the word. You know what the genius part about it is?
What?
It's not that hard to actually win. So they make it pretty easy to win. And there's different levels of winning. You get it in so many different times. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with this Wordle thing. You have beaten me in our last 4 matches. You've beaten me twice. And then you DNF the other 2 times. So we're 2-2. We're 2-2.
No, I haven't DNF'd yet. I DNF'd yesterday.
You did DNF
I still have a whole day to attack the new Wordle.
All right. So, all right.
Here's the thing about our relationship. I can't lose to you.
True.
So the first 2 times I did it, I got it in, 3 tries.
Yep.
And beat you both times.
Correct.
And then yesterday I was hacking at it and I got to a point where I was tied with you and still hadn't won. And he knew that I was going to have to go one more try and you were going to win. So I just quit and gave up.
Right. So yeah, that's all right. That tells me a lot about you.
I'm a little bit of a brat.
Yeah.
And I like to win. You and I are slightly competitive individuals.
Yeah, very true.
So you put something like this in there and I'm like, I cannot lose. So I will DNF before I will lose to you.
All right, so Wordle is what I wanted to bring up. All right, maybe it's not the most important thing when I wake up. Fine.
Golly, I mean,
it's a little dramatic.
I've got 5-month-old next to my head.
I know.
That's what I'm waking up to. And then the next thought is coffee. It's baby coffee, babe.
Right.
And the other 2, I'm like, you're on your own, kids.
Right.
But
true. All right. Well, great show, Julie. Thanks again to our fantastic guest today, professional runner from Saucony, Laura Thweatt. Give her a follow. It's Thweatt1 on Twitter, and it's Thweatt on Instagram. I'm instantly following both of those accounts. Yeah, you should too. Maybe she's into Wordle. I don't know.
We'll find out. Maybe she'll start sending us her results.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's it for this episode of Pace the Nation. For Julie Culley, I'm Chris Farley. We will see you in 2 weeks.